Hello, Smarties! Welcome to our second podcast. Today, we're excited to bring in 3 of our SMART team members who are presenting at the Pediatric Academic Societies, otherwise known as PAS. Let's dive right in.
My name is Anna Jolliffe, and I am a research specialist on the SMART team.
My name is Maggie Bushman. I am both a associate research specialist and also a communications specialist for the SMART team.
So my name is Brad Kurt, and I'm an administrative program specialist on the SMART team.
We have several team members presenting e-posters, live talks, and workshops throughout the conference. Listen in to hear more about their work.
Presenting a poster, and I'm also giving a pre-recorded talk. The poster describes a project that we did back in April of 2020, so about 2 weeks after many states shut down public schools due to quarantine, and we looked at depression and anxiety amongst youth 2 weeks into quarantine versus the depression and anxiety of youth prior to quarantine, so like in the fall of 2019. And we were expecting potentially to see differences in mental health based on having been basically stuck at home for 2 weeks. So we did not find any population level differences in depression and anxiety, but when we looked into subgroups and specifically looked at socioeconomic status, we found that youth surveyed during COVID who were lower socioeconomic status had greater anxiety than their peers who were of a higher SES.
Good.
And then the second, the talk that I'm giving has to do with the rates of problematic social media use among people with chronic illness. We'd hypothesized that people with gastrointestinal or neurological chronic illness would be in one way helped by using social media, for example, to marshal support or to get resources, and that they would also be at a greater risk for problematic social media use. And we found that they were at greater risk, both types of chronic illness, and that it was mediated by anxiety almost completely, which meant that it was not just young adults with chronic illness, but those who had chronic illness and anxiety who were actually at greater risk for problematic social media use.
So my poster at PAS is about news media stories about bullying and stakeholders and resources. And the purpose of this study was to understand the perspectives of journalists on critical stakeholders and resources. One thing that we found is that journalists commonly work with educators and researchers for youth bullying stories. However, no journalists reported experiences working with pediatricians as stakeholders. But there was an interest in developing these collaborations. So these partnerships may help facilitate better disseminated public health approaches.
My poster is about a study we worked on examining the feasibility of sending Web Basics, which is an online alcohol intervention that's already been validated to community college students based on their social media alcohol references. So we're interested in seeing, can you use social media references to identify community college students who might already be showing signs of problem drinking and would potentially benefit from an online alcohol intervention?
I started doing research as a senior in high school for my senior project. I worked with a local professor at a college that was in my hometown, and we were then looking at like relationships between friends and family members, body image, and objectified body consciousness among college students. And I just totally loved that process. And I went on to study similar things in undergrad, looking at basically some version of either body image or eating disorder symptomatology and people's relationships and how those things relate. I got a position getting my master's in a human factors engineering lab, and that research really wasn't related as much to like what I thought of as my primary research interest, but we were using methods that I really loved. We were using qualitative approaches. I'd never done qualitative research